Hello students, good morning. Let us continue the lesson 1 metallurgy. In the previous video we have seen the process of refining of crude metal. In this video let us continue the remaining processes. What we have left in that video we can see now. Okay, so we know what is refining. So refining in the sense the extracted crude metal will contain some impurities. So the removal of such impurities from the crude metal is termed as refining process. Dear students, these are the 5 methods suggested for the refining process. What are they? Distillation, liquefaction, electrolytic refining, zone refining, and finally vapor phase method. These are the methods given in your textbook. Out of these 5 methods, the first 2, that is distillation and liquefaction, we have completed in the previous video. Then we can continue the remaining now. Okay, Mama? Okay, now let us move on to what is called as electrolytic refining, and we are going to study that process by using an example. Okay, dear students, here I have shown you a picture of electrolytic refining. This is the picture which clearly tells us what happens in the process of electrolytic refining. First, let me explain the diagram to you, and then we can read the text. Okay, so dear students, this is the setup of electrolytic refining process. This beaker is called as electrolytic cell, and it contains 2 different electrodes. Electrodes are nothing but simply metal rods. When we use metal rods in electrolytic refining process, they are called as electrodes. There are 2 kinds of electrodes we need to carry out electrolytic refining. Those are anode and the one more is cathode. Look at the symbol, students. Here it is given positive sign, no, which means anode is a positively charged metal rod, or anode is a positive electrode. Now cathode is a negatively charged metal rod, or a negative electrode is cathode in electrolytic refining process. And these 2 metal rods are connected by using a battery which is acting as a power source, because we need electricity. That electricity can be given by this battery. Okay, and these 2 metal rods are dipped in a solution. This is called as electrolytic solution, and the selection of this electrolytic solution is very important, because whatever metal we are purifying, in this case of diagram we are studying the purification of copper, which means this solution must be the salt of copper, for example copper sulfate or copper nitrate, and so on. So this is very essential condition have to be followed while we select the electrolytic solution. Whatever metal we are refining, that metal's salt should be taken as the electrolytic solution. If you refine silver, the solution must be silver nitrate, and so on. Okay, if you refine gold, then this electrolytic solution must be a salt of gold, or a chloride likewise. Okay, Vama. So these 3 are the essential components of electrolytic refining. What are they? Anode, cathode, and electrolytic solution, and finally a power source, that is battery. What is anode? Anode is a positively charged electrode. What is cathode? It is a negatively charged metal rod, or negatively charged electrode. And these 2 rods are connected by means of a power supply, that is a battery. Okay, and when electricity is passed. And one more thing, this anode always will be in the impure form, whatever metal we need to refine. So in the impure form, this metal is taken in the anode. When we pass electricity, the electricity is passed from this battery. So during that time, from this impure form of the metal rod, only the pure metal gets deposited at this cathode when we apply electricity. If we didn't apply electricity, this process will not take place. But when electricity is applied from this impure form of the metal rod, only the purest state of the metal is extracted and it is deposited over this cathode. Then what happens to the impurities? The impurities are left behind at the bottom, and these are called as anode mud. Since we are getting them from anode, they are called as anode mud. Is it clear, students? Anode, cathode are connected by means of a power supply. When we pass electricity, only the pure form of the metal is deposited over the cathode, whereas the impurities are settled at the bottom, and the impurities are given the name anode mud. Okay, Mama? Okay. Now let us read the text. So this is the text of electrolytic refining. In this box I have given you the components of the electrolytic cell. First I have given cathode. What is cathode? Pure form of the metal. Whatever metal we are refining, that metal should be taken in its purest form. Okay. Then anode is the impure form of the same metal. In the picture I took the example of copper. So cathode will be the pure form of copper, whereas anode will be the impure form of copper. Then electrolyte. This I told you in the previous slide itself. What can be chosen as an electrolyte? It must be the salt of the same metal which undergoes the refining process. Okay, that is given here. Electrolyte is the aqueous solution of the salt of the metal. Okay. Now the processing. This process is carried out in an electrolytic cell. Electrolytic cell is nothing but the entire setup for carrying out this electrolytic refining process is called as electrolytic cell. Okay, ba? Okay. Aqueous solution of the salt of the metal of interest is used as an electrolyte. Okay, the salt is dissolved in water, that is why it's called as aqueous solution. So the aqueous solution of the salt of the metal of interest is used as an electrolyte. Now when electricity is passed, when current is passed, the metal of interest dissolves from the anode and pass into the solution. When electricity is applied from the impure form of the metal rod, only the pure metal separates out and it is dissolved in the electrolytic solution, because the electrolytic solution also contains the same salt. Okay, so it dissolves in the electrolytic solution. At the same time, the amount of substance which is dissolved in the electrolyte will be equal to the amount of substance deposited over the cathode. Okay, so that is given in the next point. At the same time, same amount of metal from the solution will be deposited at the cathode. Okay, so from the anode, the pure metal is dissolved in the electrolytic solution. Now then from the electrolytic solution, the same amount of metal is moved towards the cathode. Now the impurities in the anode settle down at the bottom and it is removed as anode mud. Okay, Mama. So with this, electrolytic refining process is over. So what is electrolytic refining? It is carried out in an electrolytic cell. What is electrolytic cell? It is a setup containing anode, cathode and electrolytic solution and a power source. Okay, when electricity is passed, what is anode? Anode is the impure form of the metal. What is cathode? Cathode is the pure form of the metal. What is electrolyte? It is the aqueous solution of the salt of metal of interest. What metal we are refining, that metal's salt is dissolved in water and it is taken as electrolytic solution. When electricity is passed from the anode, only the pure metal is dissolved in the electrolytic solution. Then from the electrolytic solution, the same amount of the metal is deposited over the cathode. At the same time, the impurities from the anode are settled at the bottom and it is called as anode mud. Okay, Mama. Okay, I think you might have a better understanding about electrolytic refining. The remaining refining processes we can see in the coming video. Thank you.